Welcome back to my channel. My name's Stephanie, and I am a work from home mom who really doesn't enjoy cooking. And so on this channel, I share family-friendly dinner ideas for busy families and for people who really just want to get in the kitchen and get out. Over the past month to 2 months, you have seen me set different goals for myself for the week. We have had don't eat out on a really busy week. We've had make it to payday when money was tight. And we've also done one where I was forcing myself to try a new recipe. And this week, my goal is kind of all three of those. We had company for the past week or so, and it was wonderful. And I just kind of put my grocery budget on the back burner. And so this week I'm kind of resetting. Payday is at the end of this school week. And so I'm just trying to make it to then with mostly what we have in the house. It's also a really, really busy week, and I want to make sure we don't eat out. And I do have a new recipe that I was going to make in a previous video and didn't get around to it. So I'm headed to Walmart. I just have a handful of things that I need, and then I will show you what we eat this week. All right, so I successfully got a mini grocery haul. I did make 2 stops. When I'm not buying a ton of stuff, I am more open to making like 2 quick stops. And so I went to Albertsons first. So these 2 had an additional coupon to make them $1.50, and then these had an Ibotta cashback for 50 cents off a box. So all of these were just $1.50 each. So I just wanted to add to our little stash of cereal for quick breakfast. And so I replaced the mozzarella that I had been using for the new recipe that I'm trying this week. I'm gonna try and get that Crockpot Lasagna made in the next day or 2. I love that I can get 2-pound bags of carrots at Albertsons for just slightly more than the 1-pound bags at Walmart. And then a bag of spinach. And then at Walmart, I did not do very well in the produce department at all. There were just a lot of things that weren't there. They didn't have cucumbers, so I bought one of these little bags of mini cucumbers. They go bad really fast though, so I want to make sure we use these up in the next day or 2. More lettuce, Roma tomatoes, celery. I mean, this is all pretty typical stuff. Bananas, grapes for lunches, and another loaf of bread. I got some more milk. I got this for a recipe that I'm going to make tonight, along with the ham. And then I don't know about you, but my family goes through phases where they won't touch string cheese at all. And then all of a sudden they're eating it like crazy. So we're currently in a string cheese phase. We ran out of these for lunch boxes, so I got some more of those. Due to the produce situation, I went ahead and just got some lemon juice. Like, they did not have single lemons. They had bags that didn't look great. And I just figured it was time to have some of this on hand because I find myself in that little pickle more often than not. So I grabbed one of those. And then I just grabbed one more can of petite diced tomatoes. There were a couple of personal care items and a lunch item that I dropped off to the hubby. So I think taking that stuff off. So just what's here on the counter, I spent $14 and about 40 cents at Albertsons and $39.16. All right, so now I will show you what we are making with these groceries. First up is a chicken Cordon Bleu casserole, and it's using some chicken out of the freezer, and that's why the chicken looks a little bit sad. It's still partially frozen. So I just start by spraying the pan. I put in the chicken, and like I said, this is still partially frozen, so you'll see me kind of break up some of those chunks. And then I just add the ham over the top of everything. And I'm just gonna let that sit there while I work on the cheese sauce. And so you just kind of start by making a roux with some flour and butter, and then add milk. And then I also added Dijon mustard. And then once that was thickened, I added some shredded Swiss cheese and also some grated Parmesan. And you just kind of get it all until it's looking a little bit thick. This got a little too thick, but it's fine. It will all bake together just fine. And so then I just pour the cheese sauce over the top. And then add some panko breadcrumbs that have been coated with melted butter. Once I have all of this assembled, it goes in the oven to get golden brown. And then I just like to serve this with mashed potatoes and a green salad. Next up is Crockpot beef stroganoff, and this is actually something that I had purchased all of the ingredients to do while my family was in town, and we just ended up not using it. I didn't have any pre-cut stew beef left in the freezer, so I just pulled out a pack of round steak, and there was more steak than I realized, and so I decided to just double the recipe. And so I added 2 cans of cream of mushroom, 2 cans of cream of celery, some water, and then the equivalent of 2 envelopes of dry onion soup mix. I'm not gifted with spatial skills, and so I used my usual crock pot that I use for stroganoff, and I was quickly realizing this is a lot to put in this little crock pot, but we found a way to shove it all in there. It did make a little bit of a mess on the countertop as it cooked, but that's all right. But when it came time to add the sour cream after everything had cooked in the crock pot all day, I moved it over to a pot because there was just no way it was all going to fit. And I just put that over egg noodles and served it with asparagus. Our next dinner is going to be taco soup, and this is one where I don't know that there's really a set recipe, but I did, when I cooked the ground beef, I did set some aside for tomorrow's dinner as well. And so basically I just usually do a can of tomatoes, a can of undrained corn, just some cans of beans, whatever looks good. Today it was black beans and kidney beans. And then I added the ground beef and some taco seasoning. Instead of doing like tomato sauce, I just add salsa to it, and honestly, looking back on this, I could probably have added a little bit more salsa. And then I just let that simmer for as long as we need it to, and then we serve it with cheese and chips, and we had a veggie tray as well. And the time has come to finally make this crockpot lasagna that I've been meaning to make for so long. And so even though I set aside some ground beef, I also wanted to use some Italian pork sausage out of the freezer. And so once that had cooked a little bit and released some of the fat, I sauteed some onion in there as well. Then added the ground beef. And then once that was ready, I just added some spaghetti sauce, and I could tell that it wasn't going to be saucy enough, so I just added a can of tomato sauce as well, and then boosted the seasoning a little bit to make up for that extra tomato sauce. So I just added some Italian seasoning. And then the recipe called for some water, for the noodles. And so this is kind of what the sauce mixture looked like. Then I moved on to the cheese mixture, which was just a container of cottage cheese, a cup and a half of mozzarella, and some grated Parmesan, I think 2 tablespoons. And then you'll see I set aside some mozzarella to put on the top later. And then also 1 egg goes in the cheese mixture. So once I had everything ready, I think it's time to make a confession that I have never actually made lasagna before. Like, not even one time. So this was brand new to me. I think as someone who doesn't like to cook, lasagna just seemed like way too much effort for the results. And so for me, in my mind, I would like, well, with the crock pot, it can just kind of sit there and do its thing. But really, as I was doing this and trying to make the noodles fit into the crock pot, I thought to myself, I should just put this in a pan and put it in the oven. But anyway, I was committed. So I just started making the layers, meat sauce, noodles, cheese, and then I just kept repeating. But yeah, you get the idea. I'll skip ahead. So once it was all ready, I put the lid on it, and it was about 3 hours in the crock pot. And then it came out all bubbly and lovely, and the noodles were cooked, and I added some cheese on at the very last minute so that it could melt on the top, and we had it with a green salad. And so I was just going to show you. I mean, it's not super pretty to get it out of the crock pot, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. It held together pretty well when we went to scoop it and serve it. So it honestly was a huge hit with my family. They really, really liked this dinner. So there you have it with some leftover nights mixed in. Our family was able to make it to payday. We made it through the school week without eating out, and I tried that new recipe finally. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to continue to follow along with my meal planning shenanigans, just hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.